The reason I want to talk to you in this moment is really because now you're out of politics, you're out of Washington, and I think that gives you a very different perspective. We've now had not quite 100 days, but 3 months of the Trump administration. How do you think it's going?
Well, I mean, he's doing exactly what he said. People shouldn't be all upset. You know, they lost. The people that are upset right now lost. This is system. I said, first of all, whenever the people speak and we have a representative form of democracy, that means that we are governing ourselves by the people we choose. If you honor that system of what we have, then you have to honor our president, and you have to try to do everything you can to help them be successful. And I said, whether it's someone you voted for, whether you didn't vote for him, whether it's someone in your own political party or not, or your own political persuasion, makes no difference. That is the leader of the free country, and you've got to pray every day to make them successful and help them be constructive. I know that his delivery style is something that's a little bit different than what most in the political arena, but it's been that way from day one. And he got reelected by a bigger margin. So let's figure out a way to work with him. That's what I have said. And the Democrats being all upset, and I've said this, no matter what's going on, I think he has an awful lot of cover, Katty, because of how he's done what he said he would do on the border. The border was an absolute mess. It really was. So dangerous. I have been saying, I said, we've never allowed asylum to happen just because you put one foot in. And then here's your card and we'll come see you later. That we've never done that. And it just opened up the floodgates. It was unbelievable. And people were upset. Even in rural states such as West Virginia, where we don't have an awful lot of immigration, people just thought it was wrong to have people coming not knowing who they are, what their purpose of coming is. All of us are immigrants. And I've always said we need a really good, strength, a healthy and a very strong legal immigration program for this country to continue to be as great as it's always been. We can't do it just on homegrown. We have to have that influx of immigration that makes us continue stronger and better. And so if I was the Democrats, I would say, listen, we made a mistake. I am sorry. We made a mistake. Pandemic was going on. We thought we could help an awful lot of people in distress around the world. And we just made a mistake. We want to work with the president to strengthen the border. Okay. But also we want the president to work with us to make sure that we have a pathway for legal immigration so people can come the right way for the right purpose.
I've never known a president be this ambitious and move as fast as President Trump is doing in his first few weeks. What do you think of the level of confidence, the level of speed, the changes that he's making in the country? What are you thinking of that?
That's just who he is. I mean, I've had a good relationship with him his first term there, and we still have communications. We can talk and different things. He's engaging. Of all the presidents, other than Bill Clinton, he's the most engaging that I've ever seen, and he'll talk to anybody. Now, you might say, well, I don't think he heard me or he didn't listen to me. I think he does listen and hear, and you have to listen also to find out where he's coming from. But he'll telegraph and pretty much tell you what he thinks, and that's refreshing in that end of it. We don't like the way he delivers it. He's a little bit rough and harsh on that, but it's exactly who he is. How can we all work with him? How can we make it work rather than just fight, and just horrific back and forth?
Do you think the Democrats got the wake-up call they needed in the last election? Do you think the party got a wake-up call and it needed that wake-up call?
Well,
is that what you're saying?
Katty, I'm not seeing that anybody's saying. I know that I've seen Bernie and AOC and all them out there doing their thing. They're talking about oligarchies and this and that and the wealthy, and those things are all warning signs. I understand that, but the bottom line is, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to get more people in the workforce? I've tried and tried and tried. I've been looking at it as my deepest desire, and one thing I regret that I wasn't able to accomplish. How do you get rid of the welfare cliff and change it to a welfare slope? No one's talking about this common sense stuff. And that's what gets me. Elizabeth Warren, who I like very much, we have a difference of philosophy, but she understands. She's very bright and she understands. And I know where her heart is, okay? And so we've talked. She said, Joe, what happened to the Democratic Party in West Virginia? I said, Elizabeth, nothing that I know of, but they want to know what happened to the Washington Democrats. She says, what do you mean? I says, well, Elizabeth, it seems like the Washington Democrats are more concerned, spend more time, more effort, and more resources on able-bodied, capable people that could work, that don't work or won't work, versus those who can't. And versus those who will work and get up every morning. We want to take care of those who can't, but those who can contribute should be incentivized to contribute, not just handouts. And it got to the point to where people just won't work. And I'll never forget President Biden said, Joe, I've got 17 Nobel laureates who've told me that it's going to be transitory. And I said, Mr. President, with all due respect, you've got 17 educated idiots who are telling you what you want because you're paying them. And I said, they know better than that. We've been sending checks to everybody. That if we miss somebody, it was not by design, it was by mistake, because you tried to get a check to everybody. And then after we had a vaccine that worked, we never required people to go back to work for almost another year. What do you expect?
Lots of Democrats have lots of different views on how they should tackle the Trump administration this time around. You've got people like James Carville from the Clinton years, the strategist, saying, there's James saying it's time to play possum, lie down, be quiet, keep our heads down, because the Trump administration is going to make such a mess of things. Just let them get themselves into trouble with the tariffs and the economy, and then and get out of their way. Does that sound to you like a winning strategy for the Democratic Party?
James, I have utmost respect for James Carville. I like him. I consider him a friend and everything. We have a president for the next 4 years. I want Donald Trump to succeed. I want to help wherever I can help. I want to give them my experience of the mistakes I have made that we shouldn't make again, and how we can basically have a better country all the way around. It seems like the Democrats and a lot of the news stations, you are reporting an awful lot about the person that was wrongfully sent back to El Salvador, because he didn't have due process. And a federal judge says bring him back. And with that being said, we're making such a big deal out of it. The person came here illegally, has been here illegally. So they have a right to deport him. Now, he had to have due process, and he should have. If they bring him right back, I don't see they're going to do the same thing. But the Democrats are saying, what a horrible situation. They're making more of a case out of this one person who's an illegal immigrant being sent out of the country that could have been tied to a gang. Now, that plays right in. If I'm a Republican, and if I'm a Republican strategist, I am going to keep quiet and just let you all go on. If you think that's a winning strategy by raising Cain about that. Now, where you better be very careful on is the judicial system as we know it, and all the money that's coming into the system, threatening judges, threatening this and that. That cannot be tolerated any way, shape, and form.
It sounds like you think the Democrats still haven't got the message that they're out of touch with where a lot of, for example, the voters of West Virginia might be.
The Democrats wanted to reposition themselves. Why don't they do it on fiscal policy? Do you ever hear anybody talking about balancing our budget, fiscal policy, living with our means? We're $36 trillion of debt. There's no way that we can handle this debt. So Democrats should say, listen, we've got to get our financial house in order. We understand what DOGE is doing. Maybe we can work with you to find out there's a better way of doing it. Bill Clinton did it. Took him about a year or so, but there was a recorrection being done at that time.
So is that your advice to Democrats, whether it's on DOGE or immigration or entitlements? Basically, it sounds like what you're saying is work with Donald Trump. You've got to work with Donald Trump, not against him.
He's the leader of our country. Why would you not work with him? Just because he's a different party, you didn't vote for him? That's not a reason in America not to work with somebody. I just don't see it. And they wonder, his numbers have not gone down that far. And when he said, really, these people that are just these heinous crimes they're committing, maybe we'll just ship them to another country and pay someone else to get these deplorables out of our country if they've committed these kind of crimes. That's not offensive to most people that I know. But the Democratic elite believes, oh my God, how could anyone speak like that?
So when you said back in November of 23 that Trump could destroy democracy, do you think that was just you were caught up in the moment, that
I think you
misspoke, that actually you were appealing to some voters or the Democratic Party, or
Well,
it doesn't sound like you think he's destroying democracy.
The way the Democrats were going, they could destroy it too. So both sides couldn't destroy it. There's no feasibility, no accountability. You don't hear the Democrats talking about, and I'm going to go again to debt. No one's talking about debt.
Senator, you have been in public office, if my calculations are right, pretty much the whole time. You took a brief hiatus since 1982. But I was wondering, with all of those years of working in public service, if you had advice for the next generation of Democrats, or next generation of Republicans
there you
too.
Go. I'm saying next generation of public policy people who want to either run for office and be elected office or whatever. It's the greatest opportunity. And again, Kennedy would always say, public service is the noblest of all professions, Katty, and I still believe that. I believe
even in this time, even in this divided time.
When times get tough, the tough get going, right? We better get going. I just been there a long period of time. I've watched so many of my friends overstay, if you will, to where I think they could have had a little better quality of life if they left a little sooner. And I just didn't want to be one of them. I said 40 years was enough. It really has been. And I think there should be term limits. I'm very adamant about that today. I think that 12 years in the Senate, 2 terms, 6-year term, 6 2-year terms in the House. I believe the president should be 1 6-year term, Katty. A president should never have to worry about getting reelected. All they should do is do your job. You're commander-in-chief from day one to the last day. You can't just be commander-in-chief for a year or two, but then you have to be very timid the next 2 years because your staff around you starts basically protecting and say, oh, we can't do this because it causes this and this and this and this all over the country. So things you can't do that you want to do because of the next election. 1 6-year term, you don't have to worry about that. And I believe the Supreme Court should be 1 18-year term. And I think if you put that on the ballot, the American people would vote for it overwhelmingly. 18 years Supreme Court, 6 years president, 12 years Senate, no more than 12 years for the House.
Senator Manchin, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, that's good to be with you, Katty. It's a great country, a lot of good people, and I think they all mean well. We just sometimes got to get together and talk about what's better for our country and not basically what's wrong with each other.